All right, everybody, welcome back to the Mystic Podcast. It has been a while since we've done a dual recording, but we are back with that. So you guys know
Mhm.
us both by now, and
Yes.
hopefully.
Yep.
So,
Got a lot to cover today.
yeah, so I'll get into my other media part of it.
The basics.
Yeah. So I, as far as games go, I played Jack and Daxter. I played through because I'm gearing up to play Jack 2 again. The awful Jack 2, I might add. Um, just because I never completed it, because I lost my hard drive before I could complete it, and do Jack 3 because I never completed that either. I got close on both, but let's see. The usual, still playing Awakening, not quite ready to review it yet. Um, Getting closer though. uh, let's see. Other games, the usual,
hmm
and yeah, that's it for games. For anime, I think. Oh yeah, that's right. I didn't put up a podcast last week, but finished Toradora. Um, Toradora was freaking awesome. It was the ending. I didn't like what happened so much, but I liked the way it was done. So it was forgiving. But overall, it was freaking awesome. The main character was great. Most of the characters were generally likable. Um, it was pretty well done. Comedy was pretty good when necessary. Then I started up Rurouni Kenshin. Finally, I know it came out in the 90s, but finally decided to buckle down and watch it. So far, it's pretty good. About 15, 16 episodes in. So, yeah. In terms of manga, nothing new. Uh, but I haven't read the new Shingeki no Kyojin chapter. It just came out today. I have to sit down and read that and then review it. So,
Attack on Titan.
yeah.
Oh, cool.
The new chapter came out today. 69. Best chapter. No. Um,
Who knows? Mhm.
yeah. Uh, I didn't really start anything new as far as manga goes, but in terms of reading, I was recommended very heavily a Pokemon fanfic called Olivine Romance, author named Snowden. Oh, God. I'm caught up with that 56 chapters. That fucking fanfiction was so good. In terms, like, the Pokemon battles were good. They were pretty well written. But the character interactions, character development, I can't even compare with this person. It's not even close. Like, I looked at my own writing and looked at his as far as character development and interactions. I'm not even close to this guy. And so
What?
and so I jeez. The basically I'll give you a quick lowdown of what it is. It's basically about well, the main character is Jasmine, gym leader Jasmine from um Johto,
hmm
and they're a little older. They're like in their early 20s, and it's all about like it's about like sex and different types of stuff, and just like a lot of adult issues. But it's so well done that I was just like, holy crap! And yeah, I mean that's about all I can say. Except there is one important thing I have to say, and that is, um, thanks to it, I am now announcing that I'm going to be streaming again, and I'm going to be starting with Pokemon Platinum, starting on Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard.
Oh.
So I only told like one person before this, but it's now officially announced. I am streaming again. Don't know how long this will go for, but since the semester's over, I said fuck it. I'm coming back. for now. So look forward. Well, yeah, look forward to that. I was gonna do it on Friday, but it's too quick. Uh, so now with that little reveal out of the way, obviously movies. We'll get there.
Well, is there anything else besides Avengers?
I watched the Fluffy movie finally
Oh.
on Netflix. It wasn't as funny as his others, but it was good. And I saw the interview finally. Um,
Mm.
I liked the interview. It wasn't James Franco and Seth Rogen's best film, or even like top three, but it was. I enjoyed it. The beginning was the best. Yeah, it was pretty funny, but I understand why it was controversial at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any other movies I saw? I think so. I just can't remember. Yeah, I actually watched a couple movies for once, but it wasn't this last week. It was 2 weeks ago. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess that's it for me for now.
Yeah. Let's see. For games, I haven't, pretty much been sticking with the same stuff. Um, you know, I've casually finally got around to starting the replaying or actually getting into playing One Piece Unlimited World Red casually.
Hmm.
Um, I got it when it was localized last summer, but then I was finishing up another game at that time, so I only played it lightly and then I was gonna play it in full once I finished the other game. But then by the time I finished the other game, I actually lost it and only found it like a month or two ago,
Hmm.
and wasn't really in the mood to play it at that point. But now I'm kind of sort of playing it slightly, and well, I always like a One Piece game.
Uh-huh.
One Piece. One Piece.
Right.
Anyway, in terms of also this the other thing that happened in terms of gaming that I've done since the last time is put in my reserve my copy for PlayStation 3 of J Stars Victory vs. Plus coming out in the US on June 30th.
Hell yeah.
Can't wait. Friggin' awesomeness.
Hmm.
Of course, I wish that they would have, spent some time to update the characters' movesets to reflect changes in the manga, especially since some of their movesets are like from like 3 or 4 years ago.
Hmm.
Their movesets were outdated when the game originally came out 2 years ago
Hmm.
in Japan. So it's like now their movesets are even more outdated.
Right.
But of course, no, we're not. They're not going to update it. They're going to wait until they make a sequel
Hmm.
to update their movesets.
Right.
So, which means hopefully, if they do, and they will, they're definitely going to make a sequel to this game. This game was too popular for them to not consider making a sequel.
Right.
And when they do, we're going to be. You realize that what some of the things we're going to get, like friggin', we're going to be like friggin' getting dual sword wielding Ichigo. Friggin' probably instead of Aizen, we might get like Yuha Bach. Friggin', we might get like friggin' Naruto, not like Sage of Six Path Power Naruto. Friggin' Gear Fourth Luffy. All kinds of good shit. Possibly. Who knows?
Hmm.
That's assuming they do a sequel, which I think they will.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of movies, other than Age of Ultron, I've watched a couple of movies here and there. I rewatched for the umpteenth time Strong World and Film Z
Hmm.
because they're awesome, especially Film Z because
Yeah. Film Z was awesome.
Um, and also, I finally got around to watching that comedy movie, Let's Be Cops. It was hilarious. It was funny. I really enjoyed it. And trying to think, is there any other notable movies? No, not really. Um, Television, just the usual stuff. I mean, making note that for the eight Marvel's Agents of Shield, they, it's interesting because the fact that in the episode last week, episode before the movie came out in the U.S., they heavily they the events of that episode led to Coulson giving Maria Hill the mission that the Avengers went on in the beginning of the movie,
Mm.
which I thought was pretty interesting. And the fact that there was a character in the show who can gets visions of the future and was able to actually predict the events of Age of Ultron. But of course, because even though they're in a shared universe, they can't actually the TV universe. The movie universe might affect the TV universe, but the TV universe can't affect the movie universe. At least not at this point.
So wait, were there spoilers then for the
No,
movies and the show?
she didn't see it. She's like the character was like, I see metal men destroying everything.
Oh.
Like you didn't actually see the vision. She had a vision, and she was like, "Oh, she saw you saw a bit of it at the beginning of the vision, which is her seeing Loki's scepter, and
Oh.
then she's like, "Oh, I see, metal men destroying everything."
So like it was all very vague stuff.
Yeah, as a way to hint,
Mm-hmm.
say, "Hey, look, this," to remind people that the TV and movie universes are technically in the same universe.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the following week, this week's episode, it was like, oh yeah, this is like directly after, the events of the Age of Ultron.
Uh-huh.
So, which according to them, from the time they got their original mission, or from the beginning of the movie to the end, is supposed to be like a week. Because they're like,
Okay.
oh, a lot's happened over the past week.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, well, whatever.
Makes sense.
So, but it's something nice to know. They're next week they're having their season finale. And in this the current storyline that they're working with is heavily involved with the Inhumans.
Ah,
If you know anything about them,
a little bit.
and basically, the Inhumans and Shield are about to go to war.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly because of one particular character made a certain decision. But of course, if you guys want to find out, you gotta watch the show.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, so it's definitely, it's definitely worth watching. I like it.
How many episodes are there so far of Agents of Shield in
What is
total?
it? In total, I'm not exactly sure because this is I think the ending of the third season.
They're about
I
like
think
10
no,
to 15 a season or
no,
something.
or is it the end of the second season? I can't remember. No, I think it was the end of the second season because it's just weird because in the second season they kind of like split up. I think they like split up sort of the plot between like two major plot lines. Like the one was like the first half of the season, and then like I think
That's weird. Okay.
I've seen other shows like that have done that where like when they finish one plot line at the winter finale, and then they start a slightly different plot line in the second half of the season.
Mm-hmm. Well,
It's weird when they do something like that. When they
that's
do stuff
Walking
like that.
Dead.
So, well, let's see. Currently, the first season and this season are both are going to have 22 episodes.
Oh.
So in total, like, because it says 44 episodes in total.
Okay.
And that's obviously including next week's 2-hour season finale.
Wow. I might catch up before the next season premieres if it's not too far.
Well, I mean, it'll come back in the fall like most other shows.
Oh yeah. Okay. Probably not then. We'll see.
What do you mean not?
I don't know. We'll see how my anime backlog gets.
Yeah. Yep.
That takes priority usually.
Yeah. So now, let's see what else. Well, it's good. Now I think that leaves just the most important part. However, I don't know which important part we should talk about first.
Which one?
Whether or not, well, because I don't know if you, because we still have to talk about, give our thoughts on the Avengers movie, but I don't know if you heard the news today.
Didn't Civil War come out?
Oh well, yeah, the Civil War casting list came out, but that wasn't the one I was referring to. But we can talk about that.
Oh.
You know, the Marvel Civil War. If you guys haven't already heard, the Marvel Civil War movie lineup or character lineup has come out,
Mm-hmm.
and the listing of heroes is pretty big. Now, it'll contain, you know, obviously Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it'll include Iron Man. We have the always beautiful Black Widow.
Uh-huh.
We have Bucky Barnes, aka the Winter Soldier, is supposed to be in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Falcon,
Mm-hmm.
Vision, Hawkeye, War Machine, Scarlet Witch, Ant-Man,
Huh.
Black Panther, Agent 13, let's see, a bunch, Crossbones, the guy that fought Falcon at the end of Winter Soldier,
Ah.
General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, the guy from the Incredible Hulk. General from the Incredible Hulk is back with the same actor.
Interesting.
As well as the yet to be named actor to play Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty large cast of characters for this movie. And of course, obviously, the first thing that comes to everybody's mind is why this feels more like a mini Avengers movie than a Captain America solo film.
Yeah, it's because of Civil War. That's why.
Yeah. Also, I believe it was Kevin Feige who described it as more so setting up for the bigger conflict
Oh yeah.
of the universe. Which, if just in case you guys have been living under a rock, it's Infinity War, the Infinity War.
Mm-hmm.
So, does that mean that we're going to see one of the two remaining gems in the Civil War? Who knows?
Yeah, maybe.
Because some people, now I don't know a lot about the Soul Gem, but some people believe that because of for all the people who know about its powers, some of them believe that based on what it can do, that it might be introduced as a part of Doctor Strange.
Mm-hmm.
Since Doctor Strange is coming out next year as well.
Right.
But I feel like, but then there's the really the one that's producing the most theories, the Time Gem. How is it going to be? When is it going to be introduced, and how is it going to be used?
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to be a part of the Civil War, Captain America Civil War? Is it going to be part of Thor Ragnarok, Guardians 2? What?
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Or is it or is it not even going to be introduced until Infinity Wars Part 1?
Could
Which
be
I
Black Panther as
no
well.
no it can't. Black Panther was pushed back to take his solo film is now going to take place in between parts 1 and 2 of Infinity Wars.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they had to make room for Spider-Man. There's a Spider-Man movie.
Oh, yeah.
So.
That's right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
So
So
this is
now
the time.
the current slate of movie is next in July we'll have Ant-Man, and then next year we'll have in May 6th, I believe it is
Yeah.
Captain America: Civil War, and then I believe sometime over the summer, I think, or no, I think in the fall we'll get Doctor Strange.
Hmm.
And then the following year, 2017, the year before Infinity War Part 1, we'll have 3 movies. We'll have Guardians 2, Spider-Man, and Thor Ragnarok.
Uh-huh.
I believe in that order. Because I think Guardians is supposed to be like in early May, and then Thor is supposed to be in November.
Mm.
So that's why, and then Spider-Man took Black Panther's spot in the middle.
Uh-huh.
Which then, I believe Black Panther took the Inhumans spot, and now Inhumans is going to come out after Infinity Wars Part 2.
Oi.
So, does that mean that they're going to cut the Inhumans from the Infinity Wars? Honestly, I frankly couldn't care less because, for one thing, they're getting some of the Inhuman storyline out already on the show. Plus, the Inhumans are basically a second set of X-Men. And do we really need that many extra characters to the already long list of characters that are going to be in Infinity Wars?
Yeah.
No, we don't. Because remember, we had all those characters we had in Age of Ultron that are still alive,
Hmm.
right, who are going to be returning for that. Plus, we're going to have Ant-Man, Spider-Man, Black Panther, Miss Marvel, and any other secondary hero characters that might be introduced in those films.
Hmm.
Plus all the other various variety of characters.
Shit's gonna
So
be a clusterfuck, I'll tell you that much.
that's why it's going to be in 2 parts.
Hmm.
Because they have to make sure they can tell the story properly, while at the same time giving every character enough time,
Yeah.
enough screen time. So now, no, now talk about. But that wasn't the now. That was some major. That was some interesting news. But that wasn't the major news I was talking about that
Oh.
came out today. There was something even more major news, even far greater, that must be talked about.
What's that?
It was announced in Nintendo by Nintendo of Japan that they have made a deal with Universal Studios to make a Nintendo Land within the Orlando Universal Studios parks.
Wow. Alright, that is sick.
Yes, Nintendo is. You are now going to be able to go to Universal within the next couple of years. You'll be able to go to Nintendo themed attractions at Universal Studios.
That sounds amazing.
Move over, Harry Potter world. Friggin' Mushroom Kingdom's on its way.
Yeah,
And
well.
Hyrule, and friggin' everywhere else. All the other places they have that, you know, it is just like, and it's funny because they made this announcement today on when they were having their like friggin' Splatoon Nintendo Direct,
Hmm.
and they were like, no, like everybody in the gaming community was like, really? Like, we were all geared up to cover this Nintendo Direct, and now you're gonna throw this at us? Like, and it's like, if you're a fan of Harry Potter and you've seen how well they've done Harry Potter, imagine what they'll do for friggin' Nintendo.
Right.
It was just like one of the like I watched an entire video like a 50-minute video of people coming up with thing ID like not just discussing it, and like one of the things like possible attractions they came up with at the top of their head was have you ever heard of the was it the one the Disney attraction in Florida, the Toy Story ride where you like shoot you
Yes,
while
I've
you're
been on
riding?
it.
Well, they said something similar, but Luigi's Mansion. It'd be like a combination of that with like a horror haunted house type of ride combined with that, interactivity.
I think that fits Star Fox more, but that would be cool too.
Well, they said an idea for Star Fox would be like a roller coaster type thing where you can actually do a barrel
Nice.
roll.
I would
And
imagine like a Metroid thing would be a cool ride. Um, just like a cool like not necessarily a roller coaster ride, but just a kind of like an adventure type of thing. I don't know.
and of course, and then if anything, you can, and if they have like a you have to have Mario Kart go karts.
Oh yeah.
And if you want to do bumper cars, friggin' F-Zero.
Yeah.
F-Zero bumper cars. Or you can even go take it a step further and do an attraction based on like the original Super Smash Brothers, which only had Nintendo characters.
Mm,
Since you can't necessarily, pull in all the other characters of the future games.
right.
But just the possibilities could be endless.
Hmm.
Like, which is funny because we all know that Disney's not too far off from making a friggin' Star Wars land and a friggin' Marvel land.
Oh hell yeah.
Which is funny because when you think about it, Star Wars, Marvel, and Nintendo could all carry an entire park by themselves.
Hmm. Absolutely.
So it's like, okay, why limit yourselves to a portion of Disney World or Disneyland? Like, come on,
Yeah, Disney
give up.
World's just fucking huge. That's why.
Yep. So it's just good shit for us gaming fans.
Hmm.
Friggin' Nintendo is slowly it's begun. Nintendo has begun its takeover of the world.
Yeah.
So,
We'll have to go to that. The four of us are gonna have to, or the five of
yeah.
us. If I can get the big M come with us, like
Oh yeah.
get the
The
five of
big
us, just go. Like be like fucking.
pull our pull our money together, go down, get a hotel down in Orlando, Florida, and go to Universal Studios.
We'll be like our 30s. Like, yo, let's go on the fucking ride, man. We'll just like bow our
they
way over kids and shit.
they said that they're gonna be like a freaking Mario ride where you're gonna have 5-year-olds, 30-year-olds, and 50-year-olds all freaking wanting to go on the ride together.
Yeah, because I mean, it's gonna attract kids, but it's gonna attract all the 90s kids.
And remember, Mario's the '80s and from the '80s,
Yeah.
so freaking Mario, Donkey Kong, all that other good shit.
Hmm.
Imagine just the look on Link when he goes to Zelda world, the Zelda part of the park.
Oh, he's gonna be done. He's done already. He's just gonna walk in there, and before he can do anything, just faint.
Like they'll have like friggin' a section of the park where they'll have like a character dressed up as Link, teaching people how to play the ocarina, or Zelda doing a friggin' like sword in the stone thing with a master sword,
Hmm.
or friggin' spar with friggin' Ganondorf.
Right.
Who knows? Some of the like park games could be like shooting arrows,
Of course.
or trying to land the hook shot, stuff like that. Like the possibilities could go on and on and on and on.
Yep. Well, I can pitch a Legend of Badass Zelda. Uh, themed ride where you play as her and you're just like, I don't know.
Well, yeah, a lot of some of the more common, the easiest way, obviously some of the easier rides to do would be like an interactive simulation type thing.
Hmm.
Like whatever, you play a Sheik, and you have to like throw the daggers at your enemies or whatnot.
Senbon, but yeah.
Who cares? She has daggers too. Just
Daggers.
because I just because I say so.
Okay.
That and Shuriken.
Shuriken. Alright.
Shuriken. Okay, anyway, but yeah, so that was just a bombshell. Like nobody that was just out of left field.
Yeah, I'll say.
Nobody was expecting that, and it's just. But at least At least they're not just gonna limit it to friggin' Universal Studios Japan, like all the other good parks, all the other good park ideas,
Hmm.
like friggin' every anime themed attraction in Japan.
Yeah.
They need to do that shit over here.
Yeah. They definitely do. Just do a Funimation thing. I don't know.
Yeah, do it like Funimation buys out a big plot of land down there in Texas and makes a friggin' anime world or something, or just make another building next to Funimation. That's kind of like an anime museum type thing.
Mm.
I don't know, it's just something.
They might stick Chris Sabat in there at one point.
What in the museum?
Yeah.
No, yeah, and then you can watch him be the ADR directing other people.
Hmm.
And watch people ask him a million times a day to say it's over 9,000.
How did you get into voice acting? What would you say to aspiring voice actors? Can you say it's over
Um,
9,000? Basically, the same three questions.
that people would ask him at a con,
Yes.
but he doesn't have to go anywhere.
Yeah. They really like. I'm glad they said that at one of the con panels, but they need to say that at literally every panel. Do not ask this question. These two freaking questions. Do not ask how did you get into voice acting, and do not ask what would you say to aspiring voice actors.
If you want to find that out, look it up on YouTube.
Yes, go to every single panel ever.
Anime or voice actor panel.
Hmm.
You're not going to go to a freaking gaming panel and be like, how did you get into voice acting? What would you say to an aspiring voice actor? This is a gaming panel.
How'd you get into gaming? What would you say to aspiring gamers? I don't know. Pick up a fucking controller and play it. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. But I guess is it time to talk about it?
Yes. It's time to talk about it.
It.
Avengers: Age of Ultron. Probably the most controversial superhero of recent time.
Hell yeah.
Why, you may ask? Well, that's what we're here to tell you.
Yeah. Like some people are hating on it, some people are loving it. I mean, there's just been a huge array of just opinions, like more than usual. I don't know.
Well, and here are some of the reasons. Well, first of all, some people feel that Ultron's introduction was too quick, and that they feel like, oh, we should have spent some more time on the, you know, developing him, or like it was obvious from the point that Ultron wasn't going to get much, you know, it was that he was going to come into the movie very quickly. It was obvious from the beginning,
Hmm.
obvious from the trailers that he wasn't good, because the plot of the movie was them going up against Ultron. So nothing literally was going to happen until Ultron was created, and we weren't going to go like 45 minutes to an hour into the movie without Ultron.
Right.
In order to wait for Ultron to be created, because then once he's created, he wouldn't have much time to do his villain thing.
Hmm. To be
So,
fair, I do think the transitioning was a bit sloppy with how Ultron was created and then immediately just went batshit, and I did think it was a bit sloppy, but there it's hard because there's just so much crap that you had to fit into that movie. You had to make concessions somewhere, so I'm a little forgiving there.
but remember, we just gotta maybe we can maybe the director's cut will be better when it comes out on DVD if they decide to release a director's cut,
Maybe.
which I hope Joss Whedon will fight for because you know I
Hmm.
would love to see what his direct cut is because it probably if it does I bet you Age of Ultron will be then would probably get the praise it so rightfully deserves.
Hmm.
I just have because I heard like after the movie came out, I started hearing all this stuff about how there was after the movie came out. Oh yeah, by the way, there were all these issues between the Josh Whedon and the company and whatnot about this about this that and this scene that scene this stuff being included blah 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 blah. So it's like well okay so they decided to tell us this after we saw the movie.
Hmm.
Okay, so now I'm thinking, okay, maybe some of these issues weren't a problem until the company decided to make certain cuts.
Yeah, a lot of post-production problems.
Maybe, maybe not. Who knows?
I don't know.
But let's see. On to the next issue that I hear people have with it. The random as all hell introduction of a family for Hawkeye.
Hmm.
I didn't mind it at all, but apparently that was an issue for some people.
I don't know why it wasn't an
Because it's
issue.
like some people are like, well, where did that come from? There was no hint that he had a family. I'm like, are you an idiot? That was the whole point.
That's the whole point.
You're
Yeah.
not supposed to know he has a family.
Hmm.
That one was only a small bit of people, but another one that a thing that people thought came out of nowhere was Black Widow and Hulk getting together. Basically having a relationship that was non-existent before,
Hmm.
or or seemingly non-existent. I mean, some people say that their interactions in the first Avengers hinted at a relationship, but and I know a lot of people, Chris Evans and friggin' Jeremy Renner got a lot of backlash for calling a fictional character, Black Widow, a slut, but
Uh-huh.
she pretty much is. Because in the first Avengers, you thought, with the way she fought so hard to get Hawkeye back, you thought, oh man, she so wants that Hawkeye D. But nope. And then in the next movie she appears in, Captain America the Winter Soldier, she's like, oh, I want that Cap D.
Hmm.
And then in the next movie she appears in, she's like, oh, nope, I want that Hulk D. It's like, really? What's next? She's gonna want the friggin' well, she already pretended. No, she's never gonna want Tony Stark's D.
No.
She made him think that to take advantage of him in Iron Man 2, but
It's gonna be War Machine, and then she's done.
no, 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 no. You're forgetting Black Panther. She's gonna want the Black Panther D.
Mm.
Because she hasn't gone to a black guy yet.
She's gonna be spoiled with the brothers pretty soon.
Yeah, Don. Yeah, she's gonna go to War Machine, and the Black Panther, and then she's gonna be like,
Falcon.
oh yeah, I forgot. You can't forget about Falcon. Friggin', I believe at that point it becomes a Mandingo party. But no, seriously, she literally is a slut. But
Yeah.
then again, that was part of her character
Hmm.
because of her training.
And the
So it's
fact
like
that they had to apologize is the dumbest thing ever. For calling a fucking fictional character a
a
slut.
slut
No.
when she is.
Yeah, when it was friggin' true.
Let's see, what was another issue that people had with the movie? Oh yeah, there was the whole thing with um, the fact that what was it? The whole the oh yeah the not so good accents, Eastern European accents of you know Elizabeth Olsen and Aaron Taylor Johnson, like,
Okay.
I mean, I didn't mind it that much because, as I was saying to Strider before the stream, they didn't talk much. So it was like so much happened in between their dialogue that I was like, I completely forgot how bad their accents were.
Mhm.
Next time they talked.
Right.
So that for me wasn't too much of an issue.
Yeah, it's really not. It's just a nitpicky thing.
Yeah. There was also people were complaining that there was too much time spent on setting up future movies.
Really?
Yeah, because the whole thing with Thor's vision was supposedly majority of it was for setting up for Thor Ragnarok, and there was the whole thing with Andy Serkis's character is setting up for Black Panther,
Mhm.
and they were taking. I'm sure some of it was trying to set up the Civil War, of course.
Yeah.
So I mean, but that wasn't too if other than that, there wasn't really any other movie they were trying to set up, which is what I'm just stating what I've heard.
Mhm.
Not necessarily, it wasn't necessarily an issue for me. You know,
Yeah.
uh, let's see. Oh, some people I've heard a couple of people say that they felt that you know there was too many characters and that it wasn't balanced correctly. Characters weren't balanced well in terms
Um,
of screen
that
time.
I have to disagree with, even though it will very much become a clusterfuck soon. We'll see. I'm hoping it's not going to be, but I have the very bad feeling it will be.
The only character that really, or the only Avenger who didn't really get enough screen time, it wasn't that important. They got it. I mean, the cameo was more than enough, and that was Falcon. Like he had a quick cameo in the beginning, and then he had a quick cameo at the end. That was it.
Which is fine, because Falcon's not really that good anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I half expected him to show up in the final battle, but I'm like, what is he gonna do? Shoot regular guns at people at the Ultron
Right.
box? He wasn't gonna. His regular bullets wouldn't have done much,
Mhm.
so he wouldn't have been much use.
Exactly.
Um, now I heard some. Now I don't know if they have ever filmed any scenes, but I heard a rumor that at some point during production that they were going to have Captain Marvel in the movie.
Huh.
I don't know how far in but she was eventually cut out. I don't know how far in production that was. I don't know.
Oh.
'Cause I think they said she might have been like a part of that final battle scene,
Hmm.
but who knows? Like I said, that could have been cut out like really early, or it could have been late enough in production that they might have already shot the scenes. Who knows?
Right.
No idea. Um, Let me see. What were some other issues that I heard people talking about? Oh, some people were like, which again, I'm like I said, I'm mentioning issues I've heard people say, not issues that I have necessarily have with the movie. Like some people thought that Ultron wasn't dark enough, or wasn't as dark as they thought he could be,
Okay.
and that they spent too much time instead of this movie was supposed to be set up to be much darker than the previous movies, but they said instead it felt more like too much comedy.
It was very dark. It was a very dark movie. I don't understand why. But Ultron himself was not dark. It was what Scarlet Witch was doing. But who cares?
Yeah, I know. That's I told you that these are things I've heard people say.
I know. I'm not
Yeah.
saying it to you directly.
I mean, the comedy was some of like that's Josh Whedon's signature is the fact that amongst all this serious stuff that's going on, they can still crack a joke. I mean, there's the whole a running gag about Captain America when he was told Tony Stark to mind your language.
Uh huh.
Some people thought that was annoying, but I thought it was funny
I
because
thought
it's
it was
like,
funny.
but hands down, the best joke in the entire movie was in the final battle scene when they are getting ready to collect everyone to protect the key from Ultron, and Tony Stark says to Romanoff, like, I hope you and Banner aren't playing hide the zucchini. I'm like, really? You made a sex joke in the middle of all this? Like,
he made
man,
two.
there was a lot of sexual innuendos, but that was a blatant sex joke.
The other one was also in the final battle with War Machine. He's like, if I hold my own, will I be part of the Avengers? And he's like, if we make it through this, I'll hold your own. And he's like, why do you have to make everything sound weird?
Oh yes, I remember that one.
That was great.
There was some other really funny, like some other interest. Like I liked the whole party scene where they tried to lift Thor's hammer. I thought that was pretty funny.
Mm-hmm.
And now, after seeing the movie, now I know why there's that popular Avengers meme. Is the elevator worthy?
Uh-huh.
Like I just thought that was something somebody made up. No, that was a joke they actually made in the movie.
Mm.
And this was a result of Vision hilariously and also shockingly picking up the hammer like it was nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the final battle, he uses it to like friggin' back Ultron a million miles away,
Uh-huh.
which was awesome, but also funny. Vision was just, I mean, I loved Vision. He was great. I liked him
Yeah,
a
I
lot.
like Vision as well.
His, I thought it was interesting how, Ultron tried to create the perfect body, and he ended up creating the perfect enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, unfortunately, some of the people, some of us are who can think far enough ahead realize that there's a high chance that Vision's going to die
Yeah.
in Infinity Wars because his headpiece, aka the Mind Gem, is his core. So without it, essentially, it's in theory he dies.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be unfortunate because Paul Bettany's a great actor,
Yeah.
and it would be a shame to see him go, especially since Jarvis fused with the pieces of Ultron that was already uploaded into Vision to create a new being altogether. Similar to even though it's like, oh, I'm Jarvis, but I'm not really Jarvis.
Mm-hmm.
Like kind of like the whole thing with DBZ with Piccolo. Like, I'm Piccolo, but I'm not Piccolo.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Vision was fine. Let's see. Of course, Thor blowing away the whole frickin' island at the end. It's like,
that
yeah.
well, I mean, he had help from Iron Man from below.
Yeah, but the majority of that power was coming from him.
Mm-hmm.
He had he couldn't destroy it without setting off those bombs like right away. And so he had to like wait, I think. I think that's what happened, right?
Well, no, it was like kind of like they had to, I guess, had to hit him with a certain amount of power from both sides. I guess
Oh.
maybe I don't know.
I do remember the Thor needed to be there because he's Thor.
And maybe there's a light.
And he can frickin' survive if it blew up in his face.
Well, he'd be pretty banged up.
Yeah, but he can survive it.
Um,
Unless they severely downplay him even more from even the baseline of comics.
yeah, which they, some of the other things that people have issues with the fact that Ultron they felt they felt he wasn't powerful enough. Like, oh, the fact that friggin' Thor and Captain America were able to hold their own. Like, oh, really? Ultron's threat isn't in his individual might. It's in the fact that he mass produces a robot army that he could switch from body to body like
Right.
it's nothing and escape through the internet so it's nearly impossible to destroy him.
Yeah, and part of the whole deal with Ultron was not whether or not he could be beaten, was whether or not he was right. That was one of the whole things that they were talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. Uh, and of course, we have, so characters were good. Nick Fury was awesome, was funny as always.
Yeah.
He's just like hilariously badass,
Mhm.
and that's just Samuel L. Jackson
Yep.
playing. That's pretty much Samuel L. Jackson playing himself,
Mhm.
basically. Yelling, screaming, and being badass, all while being funny.
Yep. That's Samuel L. Jackson.
That's one of the many things that this Marvel Cinematic Universe has done, is cast so many great actors perfectly in roles.
Mhm.
Like friggin' nobody would have been a better Iron Man than Tony Stark. I mean, would have been a better Tony Stark slash Iron Man than Robert Downey Jr.
Yep.
No one would have been a better. Like they all fit their characters perfectly.
Mhm.
You know, so which is you can't always say that about a movie saying, oh, every character was perfectly cast or the majority of the characters were perfectly cast. No, you can't say that about a lot of movies.
Mhm.
Most movies are like, either nobody was cast perfectly or, some character, maybe a handful were cast perfectly and maybe a couple others were somewhat good for their roles.
Uh huh.
Like, even like friggin' Ellen Taylor Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen were perfect for their roles, even though minus the accents.
Mhm.
Friggin' Scarlet Witch with when early in the movie when she was doing her friggin' playing mind games with the Avengers. She was like friggin' creepy looking with the way she moved.
Yeah, that was very Game of Thrones, and you wouldn't really understand that because there's a certain red-headed character in Game of Thrones that is very very freaking creepy. You
Of
all know
course,
what
that
I'm
also
talking
produced
about.
another funny scene where she tries to do it to Hawkeye, and he's like, "Nope, did the mind control thing, didn't like it."
Yeah, there's some. I have to say the opening. I really like the opening.
Mm-hmm.
Was freaking awesome, and there was some funny stuff in the opening too.
Of course, it was like, and one of the other things that I think really improved in this movie that is another reason why I like it better than the first one was that not only did we get more Hulk, but minus the whole Hulk, raging out because of the mind control stuff, he pretty much was in seemingly almost perfectly controls Hulk in his form.
Mhm.
So, like, which produced a great opening sequence and a great final battle sequence with the Hulk. When like especially in the beginning when they're like, they're having like, oh, they're taking heavy fire from a bunker, and then Scarlet Witch is like, or not Scarlet Witch, Scarlett Johansson's like, oh, I need someone to take out that bunker, and then Hulk immediately shows up and
Yep.
busts.
She's like,
Yeah,
that works.
yeah, that worked. No, thank you. That worked. Or how about Captain America's spit, where he throws his motorcycle and he's like, oh, it just slipped.
Uh-huh.
So much good, you know. And then the whole thing about how, you know, that they use Black Widow to lullaby Hulk back to normal,
Mhm.
which I thought is kind of awkward. And it was funny because like I remember when I first saw that scene, afterwards, where Tony Stark's like says to Bruce Banner's like, "Oh, the lullaby worked 100%." At least this time, and I don't remember the exact wording, but I think it was like, "Oh, at least you didn't have to bring out Victoria." And I'm like, "What? What is this Victoria person?"
Mhm.
Lo and behold, it's Tony Stark's nickname for the friggin' Hulkbuster armor.
Yeah.
And then when he pulls out the Hulkbuster armor, it's like, "Oh, I guess I have to call it Victoria." I'm like,
Mhm.
I was just like laughing.
Uh-huh.
I was like, really?
And that fight was pretty cool.
That was awesome.
The best
That
part was
there you
obviously
go.
when they blew up that whole
That
freaking building.
oh yeah. There you go. That's the scene. That's the scene I was talking. Now I remember. That's the scene. The end when he because before the stream, Strider showed me the a One Piece meme based off of the Hulk punching Thor in the first Avengers. The thing that would have fit better is Tony Stark's Hulkbuster armor knocking the Hulk out at the end of the fight. It's like he just punched him through a building from top to bottom, and he still manages to get up, and then he's just like, wham!
Yep.
He's out. That would have been better, in my opinion, just because it just felt like it had more of an impact.
Mm.
And it's interesting. It's nice to see that Tony Stark has developed, an armor to deal with the Hulk. Which, I mean, if you were a comic book person, okay, that the Hulkbuster armor is a thing, and that it could possibly. And in fact, I remember a while ago. I think it was like maybe like over a year ago. I remember someone made a video about like some of the best like armament of Iron Man armors throughout the comics, and I remember some of them being like one of the ones being listed was like a Thor armor that he uses to like use the Thor hammer. Apparently.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that one.
So I thought that was pretty interesting. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
That Tony Stark can invent an armor that is worthy. So, and of course, one of the other questions that people were thinking going into this movie was, with all that Ultron plans to do, why is Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver helping him? Why, you may ask? Well, because he led them on with the promise that, my evil plan is just to take out the Avengers.
Right.
And why would they want to take out the Avengers? Well, because apparently, when they were young, their city got bombed, and specifically their house got bombed, and a second bomb was sent down and never exploded. So they spent 2 days under a bed staring at this thing, waiting for it to go off, and thinking any little thing that happens, every little like friggin' rumble or whatever could set it off, and thus ending their life. And lo and behold, what was plastered on the side of that bomb? Stark. So, but of course, as soon as they realize that his true motives is to recreate the incident that killed off all the dinosaurs, they were like, nope, sorry, we're done here.
Yeah.
Which I thought was an interesting plan for Ultron. Like, I'm going to friggin' turn a city into a giant meteor, have it fly up high in the sky, and then friggin' have it come down at like insane speed to basically wipe out the Earth.
Mm-hmm.
It's a grand reboot.
I mean, it wasn't a half bad plan, but it was just definitely out there.
Yeah. Now as for Andy Serkis's character, he was an interesting character.
Mm-hmm.
And if I remember, and if just in case you don't know, his name is Claw, like something Claw.
Right.
And apparently, just like our favorite villain from Inspector Gadget, he's supposed to have a claw. And guess what? He lost an arm. Guess what he's gonna need? A robotic arm.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where he's gonna get the claw in Claw.
I'll get you, Gadget, next time.
Yeah. Which, as we said before, his character being in there and the whole mentioning of Wakanda is a setup for the Black Panther for the Black Panther character / So, and let's see what else. There was, it was pretty interesting. It was, the final battle was loads of fun with all the action, the comedy. I mean, the whole friggin' awesome scene of them protecting the key
Yeah.
was awesome. Just like bam, bam, destroying one after another, after another, after another. It was like, well, how about the pep talk that Hawkeye gave Scarlet Witch? Like, I'm friggin' a guy. We're fighting all these robots, and I'm a friggin' guy with fighting with a bow and arrow. None of this makes sense.
Uh-huh.
Like, you walk out there, you're an Avenger.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, Hawkeye stepped up a lot in this movie.
which is what we were promised.
Hmm.
And also, one of the other interesting things we saw from the Scarlet Witch visions that we forgot to mention was we got to see peer a little into Black Widow's past,
Hmm.
and pretty odd. I mean, I guess it's expected with her, given her skill set.
Yeah.
The thing that made the least amount of sense when she was like, "Oh yeah, as a part of the graduation from the program, they sterilized you so you couldn't have kids." I'm
Hmm.
like, as a means of making you a better assassin. I'm like, the fact that you could have kids would make you a worse assassin.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. The way
I
they
mean,
explained it.
yeah, the whole. I don't know. I didn't really think it really was necessary.
Well,
I
they were
mean,
saying the whole thing about duty, like you could potentially choose your child
yeah, but
over
you
your
would.
duty.
So that's assuming you had a child as a result of whatever you were. But it doesn't have to be. I
Yeah,
just thought.
they're just
I
taking
mean,
away the
that was just.
options. That's
Yeah,
all.
it's whatever. I mean, it's a moot point because even if she could have kids, I don't think it would matter. She wouldn't have them anyway.
I don't know. Who knows?
Um, now, some of the things that one of the things I didn't like that some of the other people didn't like. Now, I actually thought it was interesting, and I give them props for having the balls to kill off a character as important as one of the Avengers, but they also lose some points for picking Quicksilver.
Yeah.
Mainly because I know they're trying to they tried to differentiate so much with their Quicksilver, which honestly, in the end, I think is the reason why they did. They made it the character the way he is, and why they killed him off. Because I don't think they wanted to keep comparing the two characters, which is a shame. Because their Quicksilver wasn't that bad. I mean, the other Quicksilver from Days of Future Past was more of a carefree, like happy-go-lucky, Quicksilver, and you saw like, oh, what's the comedic purposes of his ability, with the whole
Mm.
scene, awesome scene, the hilarious scene from Days of Future Past.
Uh-huh.
It was useful, but it was hilarious. Whereas you got to see in Avengers: Age of Ultron the serious combat capabilities of his super speed.
Hmm.
So, but you didn't get to really know this character that much. So when they ended up killing him off, it was like, wait, what? Why? Like you didn't really get to know him. So you didn't. It was hard to really feel much for him when you didn't really know him that well.
Right.
Whereas if they would have had the balls to do what they should have done, which is kill off Hawkeye, it would
Hell
have had a
no.
much bigger impact.
Nah. It would have been too easy. It was like they foreshadowed the fact that he was gonna die, and
That's
if he
the other.
died, that would have been awful. It would have been too predictable.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, well, okay, so why why kill Quicksilver? But still, then why kill Quicksilver? Because remember, it was foreshadowed at the beginning of the final battle because he gets hit by a stray bullet, even though he's going super fast. Which, so it's kind of like, okay, so why was he hit with that bullet? Oh, because it's foreshadowing the fact that he can't dodge bullets or can't deflect bullets, even though he's going super fast.
Mhm.
So it's going to foreshadow his death, and that whole thing was his fault because he made the wrong call.
Mhm.
Instead of using his super speed to pull a car in front, which would have been easily pierced by those bullets anyway, he should have grabbed them, Hawkeye and the girl, and left with the
Right.
child and left. Which I so
Mhm.
you know, and even after he was riddled with bullets, I still half expected him to still be alive.
Uh huh.
You know, them pulling some other crap out, which is honestly the basis for the main theory behind how they're going to use the time gem, is that there's going to be a lot of like major deaths in a particular movie, and then they're like, oh nope, time gem reverses it all.
Huh.
Which because the reason why they say that is because that's literally the most obvious and cliche way to use that
Right.
ability of time travel. They think that they say that's probably going to happen because it's the most cliche, but do we want that to be the case? No.
No.
How else would they use the time gem in a movie?
Uh.
It's odd,
Hmm.
very odd. So, let's see what else. Um, the whole thing at the end where you got to see the new Avenger team at the new Avengers facility, and then right before Chris Evans says "assemble" as a part of Avengers Assemble, they cut to black and start the credits,
Yeah.
which I thought was just I thought that was kind of funny. So I'm like, oh you
Yeah.
type of moment. Um, One of the things that I'm mixed about myself is the fact that you know except for the people that are on this new Avengers team, like a lot of the other Avengers are like, we're just gonna come up with some random bullshit excuse as to why we are quote unquote retiring, only to be immediately brought back for Infinity Wars.
Mhm.
Or in the case of Iron Man and Hawkeye coming back for Civil War.
Yeah.
It's like Hawkeye's like, oh, I'm gonna stop being an Avenger to, stay with my family and help, and spend time with them and raise my kids and finally finish fixing my house. Blah 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 blah. Tony Stark's gonna pretend, supposedly he's gonna do the same thing, but we all know he's just gonna go back and start inventing more other shit.
Mhm.
Um, Thor, well, he just goes off till Ragnarok.
Basically.
um, which actually reminds me of another thing that I didn't really like, and a lot of people didn't like. Most people didn't like was the obviously shoehorned in moment where they were like, "Oh, this is why the Pepper Potts and Jane Foster weren't in the movie." Like that was completely unnecessary and was just shoehorned in.
I did like though the fact that the two of them were arguing over which woman was better. That was kind of
Yeah, but
funny.
it was like okay, that wasn't too bad. But the fact that they were like, "Oh yeah, this we have to explain why they're not in the movie."
Mhm.
Like really? That wasn't really necessary.
Well, it only took up a couple seconds of screen time, so.
Yeah, but it just felt kind of off.
Mhm.
Um, and what was the whole thing with the Hulk, where it's like, oh, I'm gonna steal this stealth jet and just go off into nowhere, like because once again, I believe that I can no longer associate with being anywhere near human beings. Like really, like that's one of the many flaws I've seen. I see a lot with the Hulk portrayals of Hulk in both movies, television, video games, and even parodies of the character, where it's like, oh, I can't be near people, so because of my condition, and then something happens, we're like, oh, I gotta be near people, and then suddenly, oh, I can control my powers a bit, so you know, during that bout of me controlling my powers, I'm gonna hang around with people and be useful, use my powers for good, because I can control them, and then something happens and I lose control and hurt a lot of people, so then I have to go back into seclusion and then rinse and repeat.
Yeah, it's a lot of
Okay.
psychological damage.
Like when are we gonna like? I don't like that idea of like repeating that cycle of you know seclusion, non-seclusion, seclusion, non-seclusion,
Yeah.
irrelevant to him, having his ability to control his powers. Like, oh, he's in seclusion. He learns how to control his powers. He then, lives near people. Then he interacts with people often. And something happens one incident happens that causes him to cause damage uncontrollably without him controlling his powers. And then he's like, I can't handle being around people anymore, so I got to go back into seclusion only for him to eventually master his powers again.
Hmm.
It's just a little too rinse and repeat, in my opinion.
Yeah, I hear you.
I thought we got over that with the horrible 2003 Hulk and the slightly better 2008 Incredible Hulk.
It's way better.
Well, I mean, yeah, it was way better, but it still was like, okay, still wasn't that good of a movie overall.
I thought it was good. It wasn't great. Definitely not great, but yeah, it was the weakest of all the uh, MCU movies.
Mm. But yeah, so
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess mid-credit scene, I'll do it
yeah,
myself. All right.
yeah, was saying, okay, phase three, Thanos is going to start showing up in movies to collect the Infinity Stones.
Which does in fact, um, people, I like that. That scene was so necessary for one real reason, and that's because of the problem that some people have with the movie is that they say there's no story. Well, there is. It's just hidden until the very end
Well, I
because
mean,
it's like barely dropped. Like they're like somebody's orchestrating this all, and it's Thanos. He orchestrated everything that happened in Age of Ultron. Just didn't predict that it would create Ultron, but the whole scepter thing was completely planned
mm-hmm.
because that's hence I'll do it myself. Obviously, he was watching, hoping the scepter would kill them in some way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm. And he'd be able to easily collect the ones they have.
Hmm. But alas,
Nope.
freaking Thanos is gonna get involved.
Which is how all the characters are going to come together. Like, one of the biggest questions people have is, how are the Guardians going to come in contact with the Avengers in order to be part of them? Well, hello, Thanos is
Thanos.
Thanos.
Hmm.
That's the whole thing. He's going to start going around to the various locations of the gems and steal them. Now remember, here are the locations of the gems. Vision, who is currently on Earth, has the Mind Gem. The Aether, which is that red ship from Thor: The Dark World,
Right.
is the Reality Gem, I believe,
Hmm.
and that one is currently in the possession of the Collector,
Oh yeah.
because they gave it to him in the end credit scene.
Like an idiot.
Yeah, and even though his place blew up, he still has it.
Hmm.
Um, the Tesseract, which I believe is the Space Gem, is in
With Asgard. Yeah.
currently on Asgard, and the Power Gem is currently on Xandar with the Nova Corps.
Mm. Yeah.
Two of the four gems that have been revealed so far are with characters that are important to the Guardians of the Galaxy. One is Nova Corps, and the other is the Collector. So they're going to, and the fact that one of them is the daughter of Thanos, it's it's not going to be too hard for them to have a need to go to Earth.
Yeah.
Because most likely what's going to happen is he's probably going to go to Nova Corps and the Collector first, then probably go to Asgard, and then go to Earth.
Hmm.
Now, of course, this could also change depending on where the other two gems are located. You know, because eventually, it's all going to culminate on Earth because even though they've introduced this galactic side of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and all the space stuff, it's all going to happen on Earth
Mm-hmm.
because most of the Avengers are from Earth and live on Earth.
Yeah.
So it'd be very hard for them to travel off Earth.
Yeah. Um, they better show Nova. They gotta show Nova. Richard Rider. That'll be sick. Yeah.
Sure. Sure it should be him.
Richard Rider should be in Guardians 2. If he's not, that's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
He's basically like the highest ranking of warrior in the Nova Corps, and he's basically Nova is basically known like the poster boy for the Nova Corps is Nova. So, and he's awesome. They should get Troy Baker for him. Just saying.
What? Why?
He could pull it
Doesn't make any
off.
sense. Mm.
I think he could pull it off. Just saying. I don't know, but I hope they don't pull the Infinity Gem because that'll be way too OP.
What?
The Infinity Gem.
What do you mean?
The Infinity Gem is the most powerful gem. I don't remember exactly what it does, but it's freaking crazy.
What do you mean the Infinity Gem? There are five Infinities. There are five Infinity. There are six Infinity Gems.
Mm, never mind. I was thinking of the
That's what
Space
all
Gem.
the.
Was I think they considered the Space Gem the most? I don't remember. There was one gem.
They
There's
all.
one gem that was considered the best in one of the comics. I can't remember. I don't know. I have no idea, but overall, I guess I thought the movie was really good. But despite its
Mm.
flaws, I enjoyed it more than I thought it was objectively good. But I mean, when it comes down to it, you really have to separate it because, yeah, you can look at the movie with all its flaws, but did you enjoy the movie? If you didn't, whatever. But a movie can be good and you don't enjoy it just simply because it's not in your interest. You can say like I understand this movie's objectively well written. I understand it's very strong, but I have no interest. On the other hand, you could say this movie has a lot of flaws and but it appeals to me. I love the hell out of it. This movie is not the latter, but is closer to it
Mm-hmm.
because it does have a lot of flaws. It's not a bad movie by any means, but the enjoyment factor for me was way higher than my objective standards of it. But I didn't like it more than the first one.
See, the thing is that one of the things that made that gives the first one a boost is one, the villain had an entire movie prior to the Avengers movie, to be, you know, set up and fleshed out and whatnot. Two, it had extra hype from the fact that it was the first time you saw a movie like this.
Hmm.
So it was like, okay. And with the second one, obviously there was a lot more, lot riding on it, and people put it on a very high pedestal.
I personally didn't. I stayed away from the hype and mostly I did it on purpose just in case. But really, as far as I mean, the first Avengers, I thought the final fight was way better. Was much better done. Even watching, like, I've seen the movie a bunch of times, and I still
Of
think,
course.
like, the last fight was a lot better. Um, in general, I thought it was funnier, and
Mhm.
I don't know, I enjoyed the story more in general. I think there were a lot more, I guess, structural strengths as well to the movie than Age of Ultron. But yeah, not downplaying Age of Ultron because The Avengers is my favorite comic book film of all time, so that's
Mhm.
hard to beat.
Well, both the first and the second one were very good movies, and they both obviously no movie is without their flaws, and so it was definitely something that both movies. I liked the second one better, you know, but like I said, but just like you, I'm not saying that by default the other one's
Hmm.
bad. They're both good in their own rights. I just enjoy the thought that the second one was better.
Okay.
Bada bing, bada boom. It's that's you're here for our opinion.
Yep.
So I think that's it.
Where does it rank on your where does Age of Ultron rank on Marvel Cinematic Universe films in terms of rank? Number one?
Oh,
Or
no, that's a tough one. I mean, see, like I'm initially that one I probably have to think about because initially I'm tempted to say that the Avengers movie are automatically the top ones, but I don't know. It's a tough one.
yeah, I can't rank it yet, but I could say number one was still Avengers. Number two for me is Winter Soldier. But
Soldier was a great movie. Yeah, I'd probably say I would be unable to rank this one until it comes out on DVD and I can watch it a whole bunch of times.
hmm, okay.
You know, you because that's you have to have time for the um the novelty to wear off, and you have to also get a feel for okay, well, after the novelty's worn off and you watched a couple more times, okay, how good is it really?
Hmm.
I guess.
Yeah, you've had less time to
So
process than I have, so
yeah, well, whatever.
yeah, I've had almost a
So
week by now. I watched it on Saturday slash Sunday.
mhm.
And did I ever tell you that did I tell you that it was like basically empty at 12
Yes,
when it was
yeah.
supposed to start? I was literally the only person until the previews were going when I think there might have been upward of maybe 5 people a day after it came out. Granted, it was a midnight session. I did not expect that.
Uh-huh.
That, that was crazy. But I
Yep.
don't care because I'm perfectly fine with empty theaters because I'm like that.
Woo.
I get my favorite
Yep.
spot,
Yep.
which
Uh,
happens to be right smack dab in the middle.
all the way in the back or all the way in the front or somewhere in
Like
between.
literally the very middle of the very middle of the theater.
Oh, you were perfectly symmetrically in the
Yes, the
center.
epicenter of the theater.
I don't know. We might have to ask the kid to confirm
Uh,
that.
but anyway, hope you guys liked listening to us ramble about Age of Ultron because, well, we had to get it all out of our system somewhere, right? So,
Hmm.
go watch my stream on Saturday, http backslash back or colon backslash backslash twitch.tv/pentsage pentsage. Um, all the archives go up on my channel at youtube.com/wheretigerx. Yeah, so look forward to that. we coming back. I don't know how long it'll be, but platinum is a start. Might do heart gold or soul silver. We'll see. So yeah. Oh, and I got something else coming up. Just saying. But very few of you will be able to appreciate the whole thing. So that's all I can say for now.
Okay.
So thank you all for watching, and we will see you guys next week.
Whoop whoop.